What's going on, everybody? John Eric Pauli here with My MMA News, and today's guest will be fighting Kevin Szaflarski on Dana White's Contender Series on September 6th. That will be the seventh week of this current season, Season 6. Pleased today to be joined by Jimmy Lawson. Jimmy, thanks for doing this, man. Appreciate the time.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, man, no problem at all. So let's start with what's going on here, right? Major opportunity, chance to earn a UFC contract. Just how excited are you to be in this position, young in your career here, to have this opportunity to possibly make the UFC here?
I'm very excited. What people don't know is though this is my second time getting an opportunity like this. My first fight was for Dana White's looking for a fight, and had I won that fight, I would have went on to have like another 3-fight contract with under them with 2 under Dana White's looking for a fight, and then 2 under Contender Series. But things happen for a reason. Went back and rebuilt myself, and 4 knockouts later, I get the opportunity back again.
Now, did you take anything away from that first experience, right? Being at a young age, young in your career, and obviously going through what you went through there, not getting the contract and all that. Did you take anything away from that experience that maybe might help you here in the long run?
Um, it was a tough it was a tough I guess a tough situation to be in. Fighting in front of Dana White, Kamaru Usman, Matt Serra, and then being cornered by Luke Rockhold and Crazy Bob Cook. I felt like at the time the pressure kind of got to me. And also, it's like it's a new sport. People don't realize like when you step into the cage and you step in like let's not take anything away from my opponent Saeed Soma. He's one of the top heavyweights in the world right now. Like if you look at where he's ranked top 10 in Bellator. That was my first guy. So I mean, how many guys get that opportunity their very first fight? But I took the fact that he was a tough opponent, and I had to go back and really work on some things and go back to the drawing board and fix myself as a fighter. I was able to do that, and come September 6th, I'm gonna show people my new skills, my new skill set.
And we'll talk a little bit later on about kind of maybe like a transition. Because I know you said you were very young, learning a different sport. Because you are a fantastic athlete. You played football at Monmouth for a little bit, wrestled at Penn State, and we'll touch on all that later in the interview. Before we get into all that stuff, though, just along these lines here with the Contender Series, just curious. I know a lot of fighters that I've interviewed when they get that phone call or get that email from their manager that hey, you're going to be on the Contender Series. It's a big deal, and it really is a big deal that you get this major opportunity to fight in front of Dana White, which you've already obviously did once. But for a lot of fighters, it's a big thing that call up their family and friends and everybody and kind of celebrate a little bit that you are presented with this major opportunity. Was there any of that for you? Did you celebrate at all? And how exactly did you find out that you were going to be on the show?
I found out a few months back, a little bit after my LFA fight. Um, I'm excited, definitely very excited, and ready for the opportunity. But for me, it's been a long time coming. After that loss, it took a couple years for me to get some fights under my belt because it's hard to find opponents. Then we went into the pandemic where I had to sit, and all that time I was just developing my skills, getting better while not competing in the cage. So I think I'm more than ready for this opportunity. And plus, one of my teammates, Hamdi Abdullah, he just fought in the UFC in Dallas, and he won his first fight. And that's my main training partner, as well as Corey Anderson, who I train with and spar with whenever he's around. So for me, it's just another opportunity to show how good I am. Like I said, I really want to be considered one of the best fighters when all's said and done. And this is just another step, for me to do that. I have to come through and dominate Kevin Szaflarski in 2 weeks.
And I'll tell you what, not only do you have high level training partners, but your resume, I mean, up to this point too, really says something because you fought so far. Let's see, Titan FC, Ring of Combat, LFA, three major feeder promotions for the UFC. The UFC really takes those promotions with high value. You've had all your fights inside of those. Does any of that kind of help with what you're going through now with this Contender Series fight? Because a lot of these fighters that come on the show don't have that high level of competition, and you definitely have to have it to be fighting one of those promotions.
Oh, it definitely helps. Every time I've stepped into the cage, it's been a full crowd. There's been cameras and the lights and all that stuff, and I'm used to fighting highly skilled guys. And, I'm preparing for Kevin Szaflarski's best. But the one thing I say is I'm settled now. I'm focused. My energy's different. Like, yes, I'm excited, but it doesn't really show. Like, for me, it's just like a calm excitement. I know what I need to do. I know what I'm capable of doing. And at the end of the day, I have a mission at hand. So, that trumps everything else, all the other excitement. Like, I don't really care about what's on the line. I just know I want to dominate this guy and continue my legacy and build to become one of the best fighters ever.
All right, so let's talk preparation now for this fight. I know you mentioned before a lot of high level guys that you train with there. Obviously, the state of New Jersey is very well known for the sport of mixed martial arts. Just how's your camp going right now as you kind of put the final touches on it here before fight night?
Camp's going great. My weight's great right now. We've been this has been one of the longest camps I've been in. Like I said, I've known I was fighting in the Contender series for about 2 months now. I just really couldn't talk about it till they released it. But camp's going great. My weight's where I want it to be. It's been a little bit of a longer camp, so I've had to do some things differently. But like I said, I'm more than prepared for this opportunity. If anything, I wish it was this weekend or next weekend, to be honest with you.
Is there anything difficult to that too, having a long training camp? Like you said, you knew about the fight for a little while, yet you couldn't announce it. What are some of the maybe the difficult things that go into having a very long, drawn out training camp like you've kind of been having?
Um, I'm a very passionate person, and when I train, I do everything at 100%. It's just my mentality, and I love training with Brian Wright and Killer BMMA because that's kind of the mentality the whole gym takes. It's the kind of mentality Hamdi takes to go 100% and everything. So for me, it's just at times it's hard. Being it was hard being passionate, day in and day out, just because you to really be the best, you have to really give that effort every day, and that's what really wears on you. Then you got stuff going on behind the scenes, and with family and friends and all that stuff, so that could sidetrack you. But as the time has gotten closer to the fight, my energy's ramped back up, and we're in a great spot 2 weeks out. I'm excited for this for the next couple weeks going into this fight.
And we're excited to see the fight too. It should be a good one. I want to ask you about Kevin a little bit here. I know you mentioned before, right? Plan is to obviously go out, dominate, take care of business. But obviously, we know Kevin's going to come into the fight probably really well prepared. You would obviously expect that out of your opponent. Just talk about Kevin a little bit, kind of what you've seen out of him so far as you've been scouting him, and kind of how you think the fight's going to play out.
Um, well, he has very good technique in terms of like what he likes to throw, straight punches and stuff. Like he throws a lot of straight punches, which is a good use of his range. But I feel like he might come in underestimating my range a little bit. I am giving up height to him, but I'm not really giving up much reach in terms of arms. So I mean, we'll see how that goes for him. I understand that he's had a few finishes on the ground with jujitsu. I mean, he's well rounded. He's someone that's well rounded, possibly learned MMA all around at the same time. Just building his skills all together. But the thing is, I'm a specialist in terms of taking the fight to grappling in any aspect. If he tries to do that, I feel like I'm going to have the advantage. In the long run and in the short term. And as far as striking, my knockouts speak for itself. I train with high level guys. I'm prepared to strike with anybody in the world. So, I just think, as skilled as he is, and you got to be good to amass 11-1 record. I just think I'm gonna be too much for him to handle. And no disrespect to him, I know he's gonna be prepared, but you know, I'm I've been prepared. This is nothing new for me. This is just another step in my conquest.
And last thing on this topic now, what would it mean for you if you are to be selected for a UFC contract?
It definitely would be a big milestone for me. The one thing I could say is I'm pretty sure DC is going to be there commentating for that particular episode. So things will come full circle for me, and I'm excited to share that moment with not just myself, but this has been something that the team's been putting in. I've been with Killer B since I moved back home from AKA. From my mom having cancer, which she's now recovered from, and things have worked out here for me. Things have been worked out since moving back, so I'm just excited to share that moment with my team.
All right, so let's get into some of this other stuff here, right? You had mentioned earlier one of your answers, right? You were a little bit late kind of coming into the sport, but you always were an athlete your whole entire life. A very decorated high school athlete in the state of New Jersey. Following high school, you made the decision first to play football at Monmouth University. Just kind of talk about that experience, what that was like, getting to play football at such a high level at the FCS level.
Um, it's D1 AA, but there was a lot of high level talent at that level. And when I went to college, I kind of had a naive mind about not getting looked at by bigger FBC, FBS schools like, Rutgers and all that stuff. So for me, I carried that ship into college sports, and that's what led me to go to Monmouth. They gave me a full ride, and, I got a lot of time as a freshman and as a sophomore, earning my spot on the roster and, earning playing time. Ultimately, what led to me leaving and going to Penn State was I just felt like it was close to home. It was like 30 minutes from my house, from home. I felt like I was maturing more. I felt like I was getting caught in a lot of the wrong things just because when you're close to home, it doesn't really feel like, ultimately when you get a full scholarship, it's basically a job. They're paying you to perform. And, I felt like everything just became too much for me. So I ended up making the decision to go back to wrestling because I didn't want to sit the year. The rules were different back then. Back then, you had to sit out a whole year. You couldn't really compete going from one team to another. Now, you could do whatever you want. There's no sit out time. But back then, you couldn't. And I just didn't want to do that. And I had the opportunity to wrestle with the best program in the country. But the thing is, Penn State had already noticed me from winning the national title when I was a senior. So it was something that I felt like was in the making. If I ever decided to come back to wrestling, I felt like we already had established that connection. They offered me a full scholarship, and things went from there. I decided to go wrestle at Penn State and try to come and win the national title. What better place to be than the team that's already won twice before I got there?
Yeah, when you made the decision too to go to Penn State, wasn't there a surprise visit from Coach Cael Sanderson that he just kind of showed up at your house and kind of knew you were looking to go and wrestle and kind of surprised at your house?
Yeah, so we had just got done with, I think, midterms or finals, and I get a call from my mom. I'm already home on the Parkway, and she tells me Cael Sanderson and Cody Cunningham are sitting in my living room, or sitting in our living room, and so I was just so unprepared for I was so unprepared for the meeting because, like, meeting someone like Cael, like that's the pinnacle of wrestling, and Cael's done a lot of great stuff. So, like, I don't see him like I see everybody else. To be able to be undefeated in your entire college career, like, that's something to marvel at. So, that was a crazy experience. That was my first time ever meeting him, and he's an intense dude. I'll say that.
Yeah, I got to meet him actually. I believe it was about almost like a year ago today. I think it was just saw the anniversary on my Facebook about maybe 2 days ago when Bo Nickel opened up his training facility at ATT Happy Valley. I know Coach Sanderson was there, and he intense is a very good word to describe him. And I want you to talk a little bit about just what it was like to wrestle in that program and what it was like wrestling under him, because obviously we see what he does. He's a fantastic coach, and just what is it about him that makes him such a great coach and run that great program that he's been running for quite some time now?
His mindset is limitless. He's always building you up in, like, the right ways. Like, nothing comes without hard work, but we're capable of accomplishing anything we want to with that belief and that work behind it. Um, I feel like Cael was just inspired all of us that wrestled under him to be greater than what we were. Like I said, like, a lot of people don't take 2 years off from the sport of wrestling. Like, I'm talking about, like, I didn't wrestle at all, like, in those 2 years I was playing football, and I was 305 by the time I stopped because I played nose tackle at Monmouth University. So I had to lose all that weight, get in shape to compete for a starting spot. But Cael pushed me through that, and I appreciate him every day because going through that program has built an inner toughness and inner will and desire to win in me that I feel like I don't know if I would have got going anywhere else. I mean, how could you not? You have people like Cael Sanderson, Jake Varner's coming off a gold medal, like the most recent guy that was there. You had Les Sigmund, my own teammate when he wrestled. I was ranked like 6th to 8th in the country. When he wrestled, he was like 8th to 10th. Like, who has two heavyweights that are ranked in the country in the top 10 at one time? So it was just great energy and just always high level competition. And I felt like that's something I carry over in MMA, that toughness.
All right, so I have one Coach Sanderson question that I've always wanted to know. I've yet to actually have this opportunity to ask anybody this. I'm going to ask it to you. When I see him, right, he's still in fantastic shape. Does he still go out and wrestle and whoop ass when he's out on the mat?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Cael has like that type of Jedi force. Like, I don't even mean to be funny. It almost seems like whatever position he's in, he just has so much knowledge of wrestling where he knows the best plan of attack to defend it or to attack. Like, it's weird. Like, I've taken Cael down plenty of times, but like when he wants to, he always knows a way to reverse it or do something. I've seen him wrestle all the best guys in the room. It's kind of like the passing of the guard. Like, you have to wrestle Cael. You have to wrestle Cael if you have aspirations to become a national champion. This is what it is.
I'll tell you what, he's something else too, and that's a fantastic program that he's running there. Want to get your thoughts on another Penn State wrestler, kind of a big topic too. Speaking with Dana White Contender Series 2, obviously I'm sure you know where this is going. Bo Nickel wasn't selected for a UFC contract. Little bit surprising. I kind of see Dana's point that he only had like 3 fights, but I mean, he could have signed into a developmental deal, something like that. Like, I'm really surprised that a lot of these other promotions haven't thrown a bunch of money at Bo after seeing that he wasn't signed right there. I just want to get your thoughts on everything that transpired with that. I know Bo is going to fight again on the Contender Series coming up here later in the year, but just kind of everything that happened that first matchup there.
I think Bo's clearly going to be a very great a very great athlete in this sport. I feel like he definitely has the makings to be a champion and one of the best in it. I feel like him not getting the contract was more so about his opponent and less about him. I mean, let's be honest. What was he, a negative 3,000 favorite?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Like, I just know just from he's part of the Penn State program too. So before he fought, I did my own research on the guy. One of the first videos I saw of the guy was getting flatlined in one of his shows. So it's like, that was like, I don't know. I mean, that was one of the first videos I saw of this guy. So I didn't really think much. No disrespect to him, I didn't think much of him being able to compete with Bo. But I just feel like that experience is going to help him in the long run. He's young. That was his second professional fight. So people don't need to really blow a gasket over it. I mean, a lot of people, it takes 4 or 5 to get into the big show, That's why when he won, he wasn't really tripping. He finished that dude pretty easy. He's one more fight. What's the problem? And, I'm sure they paid him good for it. I mean, he adds nothing but value to the company.
100%, and I'm sure it's only a matter of time until we see Bo in the UFC. Jimmy, really appreciate all the time here today, man. Thanks for answering all these questions too at Penn State Wrestling too. Last thing before we roll out, social media so people know where to follow you at. Management, I know you're repping the Paradigm shirt right now, but go ahead. Social media, management, sponsors. Anybody got to give a shout out to? Floor is yours.
Okay. So shout out to Monmouth Jet Center, one of my sponsors. Shout out to Asbury Ale House. Shout out to Elite Wrestling. Shout out to Killer B MMA. Shout out to Ocean County Jiu-Jitsu. Shout out to Jersey. Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on the show. Yeah, looking forward to competing, and I really think it's going to be a sweep of Penn State guys going into the UFC this year.
All right, Jimmy, thanks so much for all the time here today, man. Really appreciate it. And yeah, I know those Penn State guys, they really are something else there, even though they like to beat up on my alma mater of Lock Haven University. But we'll give you guys a hall pass because you guys do fantastic work, not only in sport of wrestling, but now transitioning over here into MMA. So again, thanks for the time. Thank you, everybody that watched today's interview. Really appreciate it. If you liked today's interview, please go to the bottom, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't done so already, and keep going to MyMMANews.com. Checking out all of her great work. Comes out literally 7 days of the week, so make sure you guys keep checking out the website. Also, go to her social media pages, give us a like and a follow as well. We'll see you later, everybody.